Hi, third graders. Welcome back. Today, in Lesson 16, we're going to be looking at two texts, The Case of the Gasping Garbage and Thunder Cake, and think about the characters and how they identify and solve problems. One way we're going to do this is we're going to think about their narrators or the character's point of view. Something that's kind of cool with the point of view, it's really just the way the character thinks or feels about events and situations that are happening in the story. And when we're thinking about that, the character is really who the story is about. There's clues within the story where we can use text evidence, where we can point out in the story what supports the narrator's point of view or our own point of view with the situations going on in the story. And simply, point of view is just the way the character thinks or feels. Let's start by looking at an excerpt from The Case of the Gasping Garbage, and I want you to think about this question as I read the two excerpts. What does Drake believe about how problems should be solved? So you're probably thinking you know the answer, but let's try to use text evidence. So I'm going to start on the left and read this first excerpt over here, and then I'll read this one, and then we'll discuss what we think Drake believes. Here we go. Drake slapped his notebook shut. Serious scientists always slap their notebook shut. He shoved his pencil behind his ear just as the phone rang. Doyle and Fossey, he answered, speaking in his best scientific voice. Nell Fossey was Drake's lab partner. They were in business together. Serious business. Their business card read, Doyle and Fossey, science detectives. Call us anytime. 555-7822. But Drake couldn't allow his excitement to overwhelm his good scientific sense. That was the first rule of science. And Drake was a stickler about rules of science. He cleared his throat and forced himself to speak calmly. What makes you think there's a monster? He asked. So what do you think, friends? What does Drake believe about problems and how they should be solved? Yeah, he's really a serious guy, isn't he? If we can use some of the text evidence, and if you remember, the parentheses here tells us that it's almost like somebody outside the story is telling us like a hidden secret about what's going on. So, but if I look at the rest of the text, it looks pretty serious here when he and Nell Fossey have their own business card to hand out. And then over here, this whole paragraph really has good text evidence. It really explains that Drake is kind of this word here, stickler. And stickler means someone that's very, very picky. They have to have things a certain way. And this rules of science, he must follow the rules of science because if you remember throughout the story, he always took notes. He tested his hypotheses. He listened to his lab partner, Nell Fossey, when she had ideas. So he takes it very seriously, and he believes that they should be solved in the scientific way. Let's switch to Thunder Cake and let's think about Grandma. So we read Thunder Cake, and we know that the little girl had a little concern about her own bravery. But what does Grandma believe? What did you learn about Grandma and what she believes about how problems should be solved? Again, I'll read these two excerpts, but I want you thinking about that question, think about the whole story, and then we're going to use these two and see if we can find some text evidence, okay? Here we go. As we waited for the cake, Grandma looked out the window for a long time. Why, you aren't afraid of thunder. You're too brave, she said as she looked right at me. I'm not brave, Grandma, I said. I was under the bed, remember? But you got out from under it, she answered. And you got eggs from mean old Nellie Peck Hen. You got milk from old Kick Cow. You went through the tangleweed woods to the dry shed. You climbed the trellis in the barnyard. From where I sit, only a brave person could have done all them things. Brave people can't be afraid of sound, child, she said, as we spread out the tablecloth and set the table. Then when we were done, We hurried into the kitchen to take the cake out of the oven. After the cake had cooled, we frosted it. So those are just two little excerpts from Thunder Cake, but what do you think? How does what does Grandma believe in how to solve problems? Yeah, Grandma's kind of a laid back lady, right? Like she's really just takes everything in around her. She's a good observer. If we look over here at the bottom paragraph here, she really observed what the girl was doing when she was explaining to her granddaughter about why she believed that she was brave. She was able to go get the eggs from old Nellie Peck Hen. She got milk from the kick cow. So Grandma was really telling her that I've witnessed this. I've seen you do this, so I know that you're brave. So from Grandma's point of view, she uses observations to kind of help her solve her problems. And I bet you had some other ideas too. Be ready to share that with your teacher today. One thing to remember, though, that as good readers, we identify the point of view of the author or of characters and then decide for themselves whether they agree with it or not. So as you and I read the story, we have a point of view too about if Drake and Nell are doing the right things to be good scientists by the information we're given from the narrators and the author. But then also with Thundercake, we're listening to the experiences and seeing how Grandma handles problems and the girl handles her problems, but then we develop our own point of view to see if we agree or not. So what do you believe about how you should solve problems? Yeah, it's kind of difficult when you sit back and think about yourself, but personally, when I go to solve problems, I think I'm kind of like Drake and Grandma both. I like to observe what's going on or what has happened. And then I like to really think about the outcomes, maybe take some notes, and then make a healthy decision about what I need to do to solve the problem. And there might be some people helping me, kind of like Nell helps Drake. For today's assignment, you're going to get to practice this a little bit and just kind of explain your own responses. So I want you to think about this. Grandma's point of view was to handle problems head on through bravery. And remember, she used her observations and she witnessed her granddaughter being brave, but the granddaughter didn't because she didn't think she was. But what was Drake and Nell's point of view on how to solve problems together? So if you need to review some of the story, The Case of the Gasping Garbage, remember you have access to the videos, or you can go to your Clever and go to the Savas Easy Bridge and find the story and kind of thumb through the story and find some text evidence to support what you believe on what their point of view is on solving problems. Here are our discussion questions that we've kind of discussed, but be ready to talk with them and talk over this again with your teacher and your class. What does Drake believe about how problems should be solved? What does Grandma believe about how problems should be solved? And then, what do you believe? And make sure you use text evidence as a good responder to text. We're using that information to support why we believe the narrator believes this or the character believes this, or to help us explain our thoughts and if we agree or disagree with what's going on. So today we were really learning to tell the difference between the narrator's point of view and then our own point of view, your point of view, after you've taken in all that information from the stories. And then we're going to be successful when we can explain who is telling the story. Remember, in the case of the gasping garbage, it kind of seemed like there was an outside person telling us what was going on with Drake and Nell. And sometimes we thought Drake and Nell were telling the story. And then in Thundercake, the little girl was kind of the narrator, telling us her experiences with her babushka, her grandmother. And then explain the narrator's point of view, and then describe the details that support the narrator's point of view, and then by using text evidence to explain whether you agree or disagree with the narrator. Well, for today, friends, that's all I have. So don't forget to read for at least 20 minutes today, something fun. Okay? See you next time. Bye.